Hello, DRWHO lovelies. This is Neisha M, your geek mom, and Joe, coming to you from Diversely Geek Discusses, where we will talk about everything that makes up my geek universe, your geek universe, our geek universe, and really look at what it means to embrace your inner geek, express your inner geek, and then transform your fandom passion into positive action. I believe we are all part of one big, huge, amazing geek nation, perfectly imperfect, and I think our fandom passions really help us to learn who we are, identify, and become geek-amazing people. Welcome, join in, be part of our geek family. And hello, DRWHO lovelies. This is Neisha M, your geek mom, aka Neisha T. Molchan from Diversely Geek. And today, as one of our amazing My Geek Universe episodes, we are finally, like I had to clunk him over the head and drag him behind me to get here. I am finally interviewing the one, the only Christian Basel.
You know I'm in the room, right? You know I'm here. He's there. He's in the room.
Christian Basel of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.
Yes,
and because
ma'am.
audio, nobody can see the TARDIS. Darn it.
Well, nobody can see me in my pajamas either. So.
Are they Whovian pajamas, Christian?
Oh, they are not. They're just something I wear, around the house and stuff like that. Do they even make Whovian pajamas? I have not seen them.
Yes, they do, and I have them, so there.
Oh, okay.
Just letting you know right now.
They get the guys' pajamas, like the smoking jacket, like John Pertwee.
I do. Oh my God! So we'll have a discussion about that. Should be a show, Christian. We have to do that show. Fashion in the Whoniverse.
Whoniverse and
so cool. We got to do that one.
That's an episode.
Everybody's gonna want in on that one. Let's just say, okay. So as always, because you have really a beautiful CV, a resume in the geek and nerd world behind you, and you and I have been friends for years.
Yeah.
I think we probably started part of this journey together, and it's such a pleasure for that we're still really good friends, and that we have such respect for each other. But two,
we do.
We do. I was lying, man. Could you just not go with the flow of the lie? I tried, man.
So for those of you listening, Neisha is going to go, I was going to be nice to you, but that's over with now.
You don't see me snapping my fingers, but you is done, man. No.
I see you snapping fingers in your pajamas.
In my pajamas. Okay. So, I would love it if you'd give us a little bit of a background about the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS and all of your about do's, because you have a lot going on.
I know. Well, it's been an incredible ride the last 7 years. I actually came up, and I don't know when this is being released, but May 19th, the Traveling TARDIS will have traveled for 7 years in the Whoniverse universe. So that's an old little scruffy TARDIS, a little shaken up over time. But if you've ever listened to the intro, I explained everything on it. 7 years ago, I decided to purchase a TARDIS. I went around to conventions, got to meet Whovians, took a lot of pictures, and I was approached to be on panels because everybody, for whatever reason, thought I was very knowledgeable in Doctor Who, liked the way I talked about it, liked the way I geeked out, and I got to be on panels. The first one ever actually was Ken Spivey. He invited me to Time Lord Fest. I think it was the very first one. This was when it was in a hookah lounge. And I have been on several shows, several panels, going to Dallas, going to Atlanta, and just been geeking out Doctor Who. But just like Walt says, it all started with a mouse. Mine's all started with the TARDIS, and that's what brought me in. It's been a symbol of people from all over that have some kind of connection with it. When I first started doing this, I would ask cosplayers and people, hey, do you want to take a picture of my TARDIS? 7 years later, I go to some place like MegaCon, and they don't even say hi anymore. They go, where's your TARDIS? And they want a picture of it now, because I think this has now started a bonding that not only that they touch the TARDIS and they have a bonding amongst all the people who have been in contact with it, celebrities.
Yes, I agree with that. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of become its own monster, for a better term. But it's a nice monster.
So, I mean, I think that's how we met in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were working on a panel together 5-6 years ago. So because we pretty much started right behind you within the year after Diversely Geek, when we were still You're Just the Same as I Am back in the day. But
right.
I was a huge Whovian at the time, so that's how we connected. And
you're serious to say it is like, oh well, I was a huge Whovian back then, but not now.
Not now,
anymore.
Nah. That's done with now.
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm on your show. I have my own show.
Yeah.
Oh, semantics. It's all semantics.
And you've been on. And can you believe it? We started the day before. Finally, Garrett, who runs the Hangin With Web show, and he runs a bunch of other podcasts. He oversees them under that network. Garrett, I was actually with Ian Shaw, a great guy who's in the UK, under the Gallifrey Stands podcast and radio show. And Ian and I were talking, and there is no malice. We had a great time. The problem is we're 5-hour difference, and that does put a strain on things. So I wouldn't say we parted ways. We're still kind of cousins, but he said, listen, and we mutually knew that I couldn't be a co-host because it was just the time frame. It was nothing. And he still got it. And I want people to still listen to the Gallifrey Stands podcast because it's a great show.
No, I've been on 2 shows so far with him. So interesting. I could tell you that. The timing. I get it.
But our show started the day before Jodie Whittaker, which is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Garrett finally came around and said, it's a time. And I said, yeah, I'm a Doctor Who fan. What the heck are you talking about? It's like, no. It's time that you got your own podcast. You've been growing up. You've been doing this all your time. You've been with panels. You've been with people. You've been with celebrities. And I've done an interview with Paul McGann. He goes, I think it's time that you spread your own wings. And I was very nervous. I was like, I don't run my own show. I can't do that. And the people, Garrett, Sage, Dina, everybody over there, Cosplay Michael, have been very friendly, very supportive. And I'm happy to be part of that umbrella. And what started out as just me gabbing away about what was going to be the prediction of the what Jodie would be doing on Doctor Who has been an incredible ride. And I'm glad a lot of people, Brian Burress, Dr. Freedom, Melanie Dean, who is the artiste,
Amy.
Mackenzie Floor.
Yes.
Yeah, she's an artist. She's an artist. She's an author for the Rite of Wands. Jessica Womack, who does
cosplay.
Excuse me, Song Swan cosplay. Mark Muncy, who does Erie, Florida. For those of you who really like haunted Florida stuff, the family just grew exponentially, and you became a part of that family, and now. We're episode 30, but here's the funny thing, and here's the behind the scenes that people don't know. I got a phone call from Garrett. And remember, we just started last year about mid-October. I get a phone call from Garrett. Garrett goes, Merry Christmas. You're a part of iHeartRadio. This was Christmas Eve. We've only been on the radio for 2 months. And we've only been on for 2 months, and iHeart took us in within 2 months. I'm like, we must be doing something right. Then later that month, later next month, Garrett calls me again. He goes, by the way, you are now part of CBS Radio. You're part of radio.com. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And it's just, we haven't even been on the radio for less than a year, and I think we are making more ground than I think anybody has. And I attribute this to everybody who's been on the team for their passion, their geekdom, their expressions as far as the content and their love for Doctor Who. And everybody brings a different, for a better term, diverse thought process to the table. So we all don't have everything in common. I love sparring off and geeking out.
I know.
Wow.
It's actually an extreme, wonderful plethora of fandom knowledge and such high levels of content in terms of what everyone is bringing to the table, and I really enjoy being part of that. You and I have been doing this for a long time, but I really do love and enjoy the fact that we have an option like now with the new show coming up that I'm working with you on that one.
Yes.
that we're able to really start bringing a different, a more complex language to the Doctor Who universe. So I think that that's great that the shows and you guys are willing to do that. So I kind of have always wondered, and it's not like I don't know. Maybe I've assumed this. So one, when did you first of all, was Doctor Who your very first fandom? And if not, which was your first fandom that really connected to you and made you really feel, emotionally transformed, or just pure fun?
I think Doctor Who's the first fandom that I kind of stuck with for lifelong. And I don't begrudge the other fandoms that I've had, but they've come and gone. Doctor Who's kind of just stuck with it, even with what they call the quote-unquote wilderness years, from Sylvester McCoy going up to Paul McGann, and then that break between to Christopher Eccleston. I still was listening to Big Finish audios. I was still talking to people about. I was just hoping and praying they would come back, and then surely enough, here comes 2005. I'm a creature of the PBS version of Doctor Who, the Tom Baker. And I was an idiot when I was a kid. I'll explain why. I've told this story at panels, but hey, if you haven't heard the story, stop me. Or if you heard the story, stop me. When I grew up with Tom Baker. I think vaguely the first episode I saw was Robot. And my parents were a big PBS crowd, but they would let me watch the Sesame Street, the Mr. Rogers, Electric Company, 321 Contact, all those things. But they would leave the TV on. And back then, when PBS progressed through the night, then they left on Benny Hill, they left on Dave Allen, they left on Monty Python. So I was getting a good education when I was a kid. And not only that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think PBS also allowed full frontal nudity at the time.
Yeah, very different show. Why do you think I love Benny Hill as much as I do?
Yeah, exactly.
And Monty Python, I adore those shows.
These were the trendsetters. These were the people who just pushed the comedy button. Yeah.
I love those.
Wouldn't survive today, but these are the reason why you have the comedians. These are the trendsetters of from people I know. When people talk about Dave Allen, everybody knows the theme song to it from the 70s. If you've heard the theme song, but he was one of my favorites because he told his joke. And the only person I can relate this to is like somebody like Bill Engvall, where it's not just you're saying a bunch of gags and stuff. Like, they tell a story, and they bring you and wrap you around in the story. And when they finally get to the punchline, you're so vested in it that joke that hits. And not only that, but the story comes with other punchlines as well along the way. So you are very entertained. You're encompassed in this world. And I actually put Dave Allen with Bill Engvall, the following on that way, because that's the type of comedy that I like, where they actually, it's not just a set of jokes, and nothing against like comedians like Chris Rock and all those guys out there who do, but they say a line and then they say another line, but to actually keep your attention throughout a story and to barb it with little hits and everything, I thought that was, it
was actually a very strong, if you've ever watched The Marvelous Ms. Maisel, they actually really do a beautiful job of paying homage to his style of comedy. If you had a chance, just because they really they bring in a character named Lenny Bruce, who I kind of reckon to Dave Allen in terms of epitomizing the storytelling comedian. So I totally get what you're saying about that. Okay.
But on the way, somewhere along the way, back in Miami, my parents left the PBS on, and there was the episode of Doctor Who. I can't prove it, but I contest that I think Robot was my first episode. Why I'm telling you that I was stupid is because I saw every single Doctor Who episode, from start to finish. And when I was a kid, later on, Logopolis comes on, Tom Baker falls off the tower, turns blonde, and I thought that was the end of Doctor Who.
Ooh, but that's okay.
Because that's all that PBS bought at the time. Those were the episodes. And one time they had a PBS drive, a really big PBS drive, then they were saying, oh yeah, we're going to put on the 5 Doctors. I'm like, what? 5? What are you talking about? Oh, and we're going to start doing the Peter Davison run. I'm like, what?
What?
Exactly. So that's why at conventions, I don't begrudge millennials, for a better term, who are entering Doctor Who, and they tell me, yeah, Matt Smith, he's my favorite third Doctor. I'm like, I've been there. That's why I don't push it on them like, yeah, that he's not the third Doctor.
No, and that's okay, because really they don't know. But I love that there's a really strong philosophy of falling in love again, and I'm good with that. And learning the Whoniverse through the generations, really. Yeah. I mean, because that's really what that's the whole point anyway, when you have a franchise that's been around this long, even with the break. So let me come back to you, and I know you want to focus on Doctor Who, because you should. But, totally. So you just told me you like Monty Python and Benny Hill. That is so good, because I have a very hard time talking about why I, as a 50-something-year-old Indian woman, would actually like those shows, because they were certainly crass, etc. But there was a beauty to the humor, because Benny never took himself seriously. He was breaking that fifth wall constantly.
Yes.
Constantly. I loved it so much, and it made some sense to me as a kid, but I loved just turning on PBS just like you. And I was wondering, okay, so as a kid, you grew up in Miami, right? Did you, were your parents pretty open and responsive to you, like the fandoms that you liked? What, did they encourage you to do anything else? Literature, theater?
Shut up, kid, and study. You'll get over this. Well, I was born, I should say this, and let me clarify. I was born in Miami, but raised in Kissimmee, Orlando.
Okay.
So technically, I consider Orlando home, but Miami is where I was conceived. That's where I was born.
Well,
so
TMI. No.
Yes. I mean, I'm not going to give you the logistics of how everything
that's fine. Thank you so much. I mean, you and I are both we are both from a cultural background, correct? I mean, I'm Asian from my family.
I'm half Filipino on my mother's side.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad's side is, I think, for a better term, because I'm still kind of researching. I have a huge side family with my dad. He was one of 4 siblings. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but one of those siblings had 13 kids. At this point, they own the city of Towson inside of Maryland.
Whoa.
I mean, it was just, yeah, exactly. And my dad owned
crazy stuff.
Me. Yeah, it is kind of crazy stuff. But I just had a large family. But if my genealogy is correct, or at least the research, my last name is actually pronounced Basel in another country of Switzerland, which is actually the largest city in Switzerland, from what I understand. I haven't been there, but I think that's where the origins came from, or at least that's the only place that I know where my name exists.
That's actually why I always clarify with you, because I know it is Basel. So, I mean, did you have a family that nerded out on things? Like, I know, did your parents have... I understand. See, my parents love Star Trek. They love all this, the fantasy and sci-fi, but they wouldn't tell me they loved it. They didn't openly tell me they loved it, because I was against the rules. You know that, right?
I think Doctor Who thought it was a phase, and this phase has been going on for 44 years. So I'm like, it's like, I haven't grown out of it yet. Wait until I'm 30.
It's not a phase; it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, but I didn't. My parents weren't really. They were more. I wouldn't say it was it was just because of my upbringing. My mother was the breadwinner because my dad was disabled. And my dad usually went into a room and did his own thing. My mother would go to work. So I kind of watched TV on my own and started my own geekdom. And we're talking about, the Transformers and G.I. Joes and the GoBots. And we don't talk about the GoBots and other things. I mean, I grew up with the Snorks, the Smurfs.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Tails! I mean, things like that, 80s. And I remember things like Jason of Star Command and smaller things.
Yeah. That was so cool. So then you were also Power Rangers
No, I missed that boat. I just could not get into them.
Oh wow!
I just could not. I saw the appeal of the show for kids, but I think I was at the age of like, really, what? I think that I was kind of like an impression nerd, for a better term, to like, okay, I think I've grown out of that phase. But yet after the Power Rangers, there was the new version of the Transformers or Beast Wars, and I'd watch that. I'm like, okay, so maybe I'm kind of I just never got into the Power Rangers. I mean, more power to you, pun intended, if you like that kind of show, but I just could not get into it. I did watch a few episodes, and I just thought, okay, this is weird.
No, and that's totally cool, because everybody is going to identify with something that makes sense to who they are, which is why I do like to ask, because there's not one person who is supposed to identify with or connect to anything the same as anyone else, because we're completely different human beings, okay? And it's about the journey you and I take in life. Right. So, I have people who grew up in the theater, so their life was a very different thing. And so therefore their fandoms are going to be different. So how do you feel that you're the relevance of translating, because you translate your fandom passion into positive action. I know that you do that, but how do you feel that the Doctor Who has had, or Doctor Who or any other fandom has really had a strong impression on you as a person, and in terms of even your life ethos, how you interact with people and live?
Well, I think what you just said earlier, that you can find that relation, and I think the Doctor was the only character that I could find that closely resembled to the kind of traits that I thought were an influence. Like the Doctor always outsmarted people, and I always thought, I was kind of the nerdy kid. I was trying to be smarter, have a wit in certain situations, and I was that kind of nerdy, witty kid when I was in school. Somebody would say something, I would say a joke to it, and people would laugh. And seeing Tom Baker's Doctor, I kind of found the relationship of something of a character that I could find myself into. Couldn't find it in anything else. And there was those other shows, but here was a character who didn't use violence, who basically didn't need a gun for the most part, except to defend himself or try to make the bad guys go away. But he was fun. He had that charisma about him. He had the teeth, the scarf, the hair, the hat, and he was just fun. And I think it was the razor sharp wit, the intellect that I try to emulate in my life to become a better person like that I don't need my fists to battle out something. If I have the moral high ground and I have a better wit than the other person, then I can just put something down verbally. Well, and in middle school and high school, that didn't work out too well because they used their fists. Yeah. But it was a character that I could just relate to and have fun with, and I started talking to other people. But when you try to tell people about it, and kids can be mean, and especially around that age, when other people don't know about this, and they're watching other stuff, they're watching, was it WWE, all those things that were popular at the time. Doctor Who, if you brought it up, it wasn't that known. It wasn't that well received to other kids. In fact, I tell the story that at panels that one Halloween I found a scarf, a robe, and stuff like that. I actually dressed as the Doctor. I meant, like I said, kids can be cruel, and it was like, oh, Doctor Who, you Doctor Who, who, what, Doctor Who, what, and like.
And did they know? Did they know what it was? Because it was not a very easily identifiable fandom in the least.
But when you're a kid like that, and you have your passion and your soul out there, and when they go in to rip it up, it's not it's because I didn't have the mileage that I have today now. If I have somebody who's poking fun at things, I know I have a better resistance now, for a better term, or a better reflection of it, because I don't take it personally. But when I was a kid, And I can understand when kids come out there, especially at conventions, and they've got their heart and soul in what they're wearing and doing.
And then they're bullied. So it was called bullying.
Yeah. But I just didn't know how to handle myself. Today, if somebody does that, I know how to retort, and I know what to say. And it's like, oh, yeah. Do you watch the show? No. Okay, get out of my face.
I know you don't need that.
Yeah.
You're always trying to sound so hardline, my dear friend Christian, but you're not. You are teddy bear. Okay, so we're going to take a real quick commercial break, my friends.
Pay some
be
bills.
Right back with thy next really hard question. So be ready, okay?
Uh-oh, there we go.
Okay, and we are back. I am about to put this man on the hot seat. No. No, I'm not. This is actually a really, really, really relevant stuff. This is a great conversation because I'm really actually very happy that we went into this segue because of talking about confidence. Because one of the things I really I love to highlight is how we have translated that fandom passion into embracing our positivity and our own sense of confidence. Mm-hmm. So I see where you're going with the conversation. Do you feel like identifying with the Tom Baker doctor, which is our fourth doctor, was able to help you to build confidence and self-value and self-acceptance?
To an extent, yeah. It took a while. There were other influences, but I think that was, for a better term, the foundations of it. Mm-hmm. And plus, I was somebody who liked to make people laugh, as opposed to somebody that wanted to hurt somebody or somebody that, I think the best thing you can do to anybody is to make them smile or laugh or give them an impression, give them the nice feels, for a better term. And here was a character that said the right things at the right time and the right, like when he's fighting off Morbius and he goes, "Chop Suey, the Galactic Emperor," things like that. And that was something that I wanted to, when I started, for a better term, public speaking and doing panels and stuff and talking to people. That's what I wanted people to have a good time with me and knew about my passion. And I thought the best way to do that is to have humor, to have knowledge, to have a passion that I can reflect, because a lot of people, when they come up to me, I want them to know, and especially when they come to conventions, there are people who will geek out with me after a panel and they'll be with me for like 2 hours, and that's all they're talking about is Doctor Who, because we didn't give them the time that they wanted in the panel. And I will tell people, if you want to come up and keep talking to me, they will, and let's do it. Because I want them to understand and feel what I feel. I want them to understand what my childhood was and what it is now, as far as my love for this TV show. And I hope it in turn reflects into a character that I project to them, that they feel that they can talk to, that they feel that they can, speak about other things, because I understand that when certain people that I've wanted to talk to and be with, I know they're busy and stuff like that, but it's like, get away, kid, you bother me. And when I go to panels and do conventions and stuff, I didn't want that to be, I did not want to be the character that I showed. I said, listen, when I say I want you to geek out with me, I mean it. And as long as that convention's open, and as long as I'm not doing anything, meaning that I'm not selling anything or I'm not in a panel or anything like that, and I invite you to a panel of come, but I want you to understand how much I love this show and how much I respect fellow Whovians.
I mean, it's been a very controversial fandom to be a part of over the last, I would say, how many years? I would say forever, but because it has a lot to do with being this old adage of old Who, classic Who, new Who, whatever Who. For me, that's not relevant, because like you, I've been watching since I was 11, 12, 13, since Pertwee and Baker, so it's all, to me, the same, because I love it. So how do you, you and I had this, I think we did a show based on bullying and dealing with these things. How do you feel that, we should address when fans or when people in life are trying to be oppressive or suppressive about the things that we love? How have you dealt with that? And then what are some recommendations? And usually I would like you, just definitely hone in on something from a fandom that you love. Obviously for us, it's going to be Doctor Who.
Well, I think when it comes to the fandom and stuff, that it's almost like a reflection of life as well there. When, I guess for a better term, let me put it this in the advice. You said what would be good advice. The first thing, and we talked about this, what is the one thing that fuels a bully?
Mm-hmm.
And that is, what do you think it is? What fuels a bully? What makes a bully continue?
Response.
Response, attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what fuels a bully. And when you turn away and not give them attention, like, no, I don't give you time, they'll either walk away, they'll try to antagonize, but the more that you don't give them the attention, the less that they're going to have an interest in you. And that's what I normally do when somebody's bullying me. I just like, okay, fine. I hate to say this, but there are, a friend of mine, we know him, Patty Hawkins. I used to start getting hate mail. And I used to start getting, Christian, shut up, what you're talking about. I still get it to this day. And I talked to Patty about this. He's a good guy. I said, what do I do? He goes, nothing. I go, what do you mean? He goes, the only way that they're ever going to get attention is if you give it to them.
That's correct. Exactly.
And yeah, and there are people that I blocked on Facebook. There's people blocked on Twitter. There's people that, I just saw an email. I'm not going to convince them of anything. They're already gone. They already, for whatever reason, they either got some issue with their life or they find solace about, torturing other people's lives, for a better term, for trying to get involved with other people's lives. If I'm having a bad day, so will you. And that's one thing that's one thing I never want to do. I don't want to be a bully to somebody. I don't want to make people feel bad about their life, but that would be my biggest advice, is to not fuel a bully. Walk away. If somebody says something, block them, delete them. I mean, once they start renting time in your brain, that's when one. Now I guess that's a new phrase now, is to say I live rent free in your brain. Once that has been established, you lose. So get them out of there, push them out, block them, disconnect, unfriend, whatever the heck you do. You don't need that negativity. You don't need that toxic. You don't need that toxicity.
That toxicity, and nor do you need to explain yourself.
Exactly.
You really don't owe that to anyone, because what your opinion is, it is, as long as it's not harmful or negative to anyone.
Right.
I feel like we've really had great, strong, identifiable story arcs throughout the Doctor Whoniverse, where we were really treated to some very difficult moments like this. So, where you and I could probably spout these out, but what do you identify as some of the most lasting and telling story arcs from across the entire Whoniverse that you think have really been really, very, very relevant in terms of helping people to deal with difficulties and adversities?
Oh gosh, almost every
yeah.
episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, I know.
It's almost like, okay, there's been 800 episodes. Where do you want to start?
I know. I should let me just count out a Doctor, and we'll just go with that.
Yeah, exactly. Fourth Doctor, Fifth Doctor, what episode?
Oh my God! Even with his one episode, his small episodes in Big Finish, Paul McGann as the Eighth Doctor, for God's sake.
Oh, Paul McGann. I meant, if you listen to the Big Finish audio, it's that one episode. But if you listen to Big Finish, he, in his own right, first of all, he deserves and earns the mantle of Doctor, and he deserves a series of his own.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think that the character of the Doctor already speaks for himself or herself nowadays. I'm not going to pick up a gun. I can outwit you. I'm smarter than you. I'm better than you, not because that I am better. It's because you are showing that you're not good enough. you don't deserve my attention if you're going to be that way. You shouldn't be mean to others. You shouldn't be callous to others, no matter what they're thinking or doing. And that's the problem with, I think, with the social media. Everybody has and I've told people this, and I've had to actually reiterate at panels so people don't freak out. Everybody has a right to an opinion. You may not like their opinion, but it's theirs, and they have a right to it. Mm-hmm. If you want to have a discussion about that, that's fair. And have a legitimate, reasonable discussion that doesn't go into personal attacks. There are people who don't like Jodie Whittaker because she's female. I'm not going to go after them. But I'm going to say that instead of going after these people, we should be saying, listen. And just like those two women that I was talking about in the panel, I said, at the end, give them a chance. For me, give them a chance. You love the show, right? Okay. All I'm asking for you is to watch first 2 episodes. If you don't like it, you don't like her, you have at least given me the opportunity to say, hey, you've given it a chance to it. You didn't like it. And there's nothing you can do, but I'm not going to, it's not going to be a scenario that I'm going to say, oh, don't let the door hit you on the way out. That's not cool.
No.
That's how you lose fandoms. That's how you
lose fandoms. And anyway, we're encouraging and accepting people. So we should be the people who know how to welcome someone's, diverse experiences and opinions. Mm-hmm. We should be able to do that up here. I feel like I have always felt like there were a few episodes that really, I think, shaped a lot. And how am I going to say this? But that actually sit at the back of my mind sometimes when I'm recalling an event or going through something. And on the wall in my office, for instance, I have Doctor Who sayings sitting there.
Oh,
yeah. No. My entire office knows who I am. Please, everybody knows who I am. So
fish fingers and custard.
Yeah, fish fingers and custard. Except I'm vegan, so it has to be vegan fish fingers. But other than that, yep. And custard too. But do you find yourself doing something like that? Like even for instance, I go back to the Rings of Akachan a lot, and I realize it's a newer episode, but that episode means so much to me when we are looking at breaking down the entirety of who we are and starting over again, because I feel like that's what it represents. Look at who I've been. Look at where I've been. Look at the experiences I've had. Mm-hmm. And can you handle that? Can you handle that? Can you take that person on? Are you ready to ingest all of this, all of the pain and the suffering and the joy that I've been through? And are you able to handle that? Because I know what I've been through, and I know who I am as a being. And that plea that the Doctor's making, it just has such a strong emotive connection to me in terms of who we are as humanity, or who we are, because we live very difficult lives, right? So,
right.
So did you have a particular character other than the Doctor, or an episode that really connects to you that you kind of recall?
If you just shout out the episode, I could probably find a billion things that I could relate to. I mean, I don't think, and I'm not trying to cop out. I'm just saying, I
completely agree with you.
It's kind of like, for a better term, somebody says to me, is like, what's your favorite episode? And it's like saying, that, what was that woman that does 19 and counting with her kids, walking up to her and go, what's your favorite kid? While the kids are in the room, you're like, really? Every one of them has a different message and meaning. Now there've been 800 some odd episodes. Not all of them are going to hit it out of the park. Fear her, but they're going to be. Just recently, the one that I talk about a lot is the scene with Capaldi and the buttons, the Zygon inversion, or the Zygon invasion, inversion, and he's talking about war, and all it is are 2 empty boxes, and the girls don't know this yet.
Yeah.
But he's making them know. And he's not only talking about war on a scale. But I even think it even goes further than just war. I think it goes into the social media.
Mm-hmm.
When he finally says, what we're going to do it always sit down and talk. And there was a movie on HBO about the Iraqi war that I thought there was a really cool line. It actually starred Michael Keaton. And the thing is that there was some kind of line reference to, they're all talking, all talk. And Michael Keaton refers to the guy, the Iraqi guy. He goes, yeah, because when they stop talking, that's when the war starts happening. It's all about the discussion. Mm-hmm. It's all about the passion. It is all about relating to. And if I don't convince you, fine, but I will still walk out of that room respecting you and what you enjoy. And if somebody likes Fear Her, more power to her. I couldn't find it, but I think that's what we've lost in this society. It's that the idea that people can't have an opinion. An opinion is a weapon now, or people treat it like a weapon. And people say that certain dialogue is violence. I don't believe that. Unless it's something to say that I'm going to kill you or something to that nature. If I just want to say something open-heartedly, I don't agree with this, or I do agree with this. But when that talk stops and that discussion stops, I think something else will fill the void, and that's a scary proposition. What's so beautiful about the Whoniverse, the geekdom, especially the Whoniverse, is that we can openly talk to each other, respect each other, and understand, bottom line, we have a principle and a love for a TV show. And then we have to remember, before you put out that tweet, before you rant and rave, before you say that hateful thing, before you berate that person, it's a TV show.
It is.
That's all it is. It's a show that we love, but I think when you delve into passions, that's when it gets a little dangerous, because, like I said, it was that kid dressed up in middle school like the Doctor, and when those kids were poking fun at him, it may have been just words, but words that did touch the soul at the time.
Wow. You waxed so prophetic. That was so beautiful. I love it.
So you got to listen to my show because I do it all the time. No,
it's like the Doctor says, I am and always will be the optimist, the hoper of far-flung hopes and the dreamer of improbable dreams.
Yeah.
I have to believe in that. I have to believe in that line every day, because every day there's a challenge that we have to face, right?
Right.
And this is the one thing that I'm hoping is these positive messages are the things that people take away from when we watch the show, whatever the show is, or if we read a book, or for what, following an artist. There's something that creates a beauty inside of us and that we connect to. And that's why we create fandoms,
When I started... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you go. Mm-hmm.
When I started this show, I think that's the basis of everybody when they start a show or some kind of a podcast or radio show. It was things that I wanted to talk about that I never got a chance on other shows or at panels and stuff like that. And it's nothing against other shows, but what are other Doctor Who shows doing now? They're reviewing classic Who in the meantime. And like I said, I'm not downing them. That's what they want to do. That's their passion. More power to them. But I said, I want to take a different approach. And what did we talk about? Bullying in the Whoniverse. Cosplaying. We are going to be talking about, hopefully, with a guest coming up, we're going to be talking about characters and actors who have disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And having different opinions. I actually, the last episode that we did, I think an episode or two ago, we talked about my favorite Big Finish, which was the Holy Terror. That was my gateway drug into the Big Finish world. And they had criticisms about it. But it were good criticisms. They weren't trying to berate me. They were trying to say what they honestly felt about the episode. And we talked, discussed. And some of it was like, oh, okay, I see your point of view. Or maybe I don't see their point of view, but I still respected their discussion. I still respected their take on things.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I think that's what we should all be doing. And I wanted to talk about the stuff that I didn't want to be the review episode. I mean, like, there's other podcasts you want to hear them.
No. And our focus is completely different as well. Yeah. It's not exactly the same.
I wanted to be where people were reviewing episodes. I wanted to talk about the soul of Doctor Who. And I think the discussion started when the day that Jodie was announced.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw the social media just completely go ape.
Mm-hmm.
Positive, negative on both sides. Mean and spirited on both sides. And some people had a legitimate argument for and pro and con. Some people just wanted to step into the ring and goes, you know what? If somebody just wanted to say, listen, I'm just not into this. I don't want it to be a woman. I mean, they made that decision, and that's fine. I just can't see the Doctor in the light of the way. Because that's what he's been for the longest time. And that's cool. We should be able to say, you know what, that's cool. You gave it a chance. I can't begrudge you. I can't go with a cattle prod and make you sit down there like the Clockwork Orange, that scene with Malcolm McDowell when his eyes are popped up and you say, you're going to watch the entire season. No.
Right.
But if you want to come back, and you change your mind, I want to let you know the door is open and has been open the whole time. And you're welcome to come back.
So where do you see yourself going with in terms? So you're very focused because I know you're doing the show and you're doing a lot with the show. But where do you see Christian and the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS going? Where are you hoping to get to?
I would love the ultimate goal is to just branch out and see other people in other states, other countries. I would love to go to the UK. One of my bucket list is to visit Big Finish. And I've talked to Nick Briggs about this because everybody who's ever worked at Big Finish, the first thing they always talk about is the catering. I said, I want to know. I want to go to the studios just to eat because everybody's telling me how wonderful the food is.
Goodness.
But I want to see where everything started. I want to meet the people. I would love to see Tom Baker, someday. I don't know if that's ever going to happen in my life. But I want people to know how special this show is and what it meant to me. I'm hoping that with your passion reciprocates what my respect for you as a Whovian and as just a human being. And, I would love to be like certain conglomerations and companies going, yes, I want to take over the world. Yes, I want to be the only Doctor Who show.
Over the world.
I want to be the only Doctor Who show on, and I want millions of people listening to me, and I want to quit my job and become the next Markiplier and all that stuff. Everybody's just listening to me talk about Doctor Who.
Woo!
But
for a moment, let's take over the world.
Right.
But
I think that if you're asking for my direction, I'm always want to make this show as big and as beautiful I think that it can be. And it has a terrific team behind it. A lot of people, the family's growing. And I'm hoping other people will see it.
The growth to get to where you are today, to be truthful, was not always an easy thing. You went through a lot of struggle and challenge. And, that's just part of the experience of living, is to be able to deal with those adversities and face them head on,
Yeah, and I think that's with everybody. I think it's not just a radio show. I meant there's people who there's just haters out there, and that's
going to happen.
That's going to happen anywhere you go. But more, and I think in our field, because we're open to it, our stuff is out there. Our product is somewhere tangible, meaning that they can download it, they can listen to it, they can stream it, or whatever. And they can openly criticize it right then and there at will in the social media. But as Patty says, once you get the criticisms, you know you made it.
I know. He told me the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's
He told me the same thing. He's like, once you get people it's criticizing or people trying to replicate what you do or your work, then you've made it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks. Because that does happen. It's an honor, but at the same time, boy, you get
Oh yeah, I'm just like, and well, the thing is that I've also had what I call positive criticisms. They say, okay, well, you need to focus on this. You talk too much, things like that. But it's how you take the criticism. If there's somebody who's going like, I hate Neisha, I hate Christian, blah, 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 blah. You all can go on the Titanic and hit an iceberg on the way out the door. Anything like that, no, I'm not going to listen. I'm going to block, delete, and whatever. But if somebody genuinely wants to tell me, you know what, Christian, that last episode, I think you should talk about this and this and that. I try to listen.
And you listen.
I will listen, yes.
And you learn from it and you go on. And I know that that's happened with you because we've been on the journey of trying to figure out how to cultivate our language, our messaging. And I know that. So, okay. So you and I are heading into a really fun endeavor this weekend. If you wanted to tell everyone how you can find us, find you guys, that would be great. And then let us know how to find you on social media.
Okay, well.
Social media. No,
yeah, it's like, I follow you on social media. I follow you, Christian. I'm like, what? Oh, okay. Well, what do you think about the radio show? I'm like, what radio show?
Well, we're going to tell
you. Okay. You don't follow me that way. No. It's been one heck of a ride, but again, I'll reiterate. First of all, we have an episode that drops every Saturday. It premieres on Krypton Radio, and we are so wonderful. Then without KryptonRadio.com and Gene and Susan and all the team over there, supporting us, I don't think I would even gotten off the ground. iHeartRadio, iTunes, CBS's radio.com, Spotify. I mean, basically, you can look up The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS anywhere. We drop the links on our Facebook page, so we drop them. YouTube, if you're in for that. I mean, our YouTube page could really use some help, but we're a radio show and we get it. But you can just look us up and like us on our Facebook page. And if you have a favorite spot, every Saturday it will drop. You can check us out over there.
Absolutely. And for everyone who's going to be at MegaCon Orlando this weekend coming up, you can definitely find the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, where you can find Christian and myself at some point. And also Hanging With the Web, right?
Hangin With Web. Garrett and the team and those wonderful people over there. We have a panel this Sunday. Room 220. If you come by the booth, we'll tell you. I unfortunately don't have the information.
I think it's 220G.
220. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that's correct. But you guys also have one Friday about podcasting and making it.
Yeah, the title is "How to Be a Superstar." I'm like, the heck are you talking about?
That's an interesting title there, Garrett.
It's like, whoa.
So, okay, that sounds awesome. I know you can find us there. So you can find myself. This is Neisha M, your Geek Mom, aka Neisha T. Mulchan from DiversityGeek.org. You can find pretty much anything that has to do with our social media on our website, which is DiversityGeek.org. And please definitely head over to the website and you can read our original content, because we have a lot of really amazing articles from guest authors and contributors, which we're really, by the way, Christian, really trying to get that out there as well. I do have a Whovian corner in there where I do some interesting discussions. And definitely you can find us on our podcast. This is My Geek Universe here, part of the Diversity Geek Discusses channel on Spreaker. And you guys know where you can find us.
Oh, can I wedge in something real fast?
Yeah, go.
Oh, not only listening to Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, but Neisha does come in and has been on quite a few episodes. So if you definitely want to listen for Neisha over here, if you need more Neisha, if you haven't had enough of Neisha, definitely come on over. She's been in quite a few episodes. I can't think of them on the top of my head, but I'm really excited about talking about.
Well, we did the bullying one. We worked with Simon. We did it. I think you and I do a lot of the work together on episodes that have to do with positive self and.
Yes.
And looking at diversity and looking at understanding and learning, because that's where we're kind of trying to partner, I think, to get the message out there, man. And so, awesome. Thank you. And I am so excited we were finally able to do this. Okay, you survived, right?
I don't know. Is that what you call it?
How's the bump on your head where I hit you?
Oh, it's throbbing, hurt, throbbing, hurt.
I am a medical provider. I can prescribe you some aspirin.
Oh, there's no medicine for this cure. There's no prescription that a doctor could write up that can be read.
Hey, I am very, what is the word now? I'm very skilled. You never know what I can do. So
I know you're an incredible woman, Neisha, and I love having you on the show. And folks, yes, you got, if you do, when you do come listen to the show, you got to definitely listen to Neisha's episode. She contributes a lot about that. I'm very happy for you to be part of our family.
Yay! Thank you so much. All right, my dear DG lovelies, signing off from my Geek Universe. Have a great week. Oh, and if you're going to MegaCon, come and find us there.
You're darn tootin' right.